What is the best area to live in if you're coming to Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, aka Saigon? This is a city that has the biggest population. Everything is going on here. If you are young, trying to start a new career, this is the place to be. And if you're older, looking for a place to retire, well, Saigon could also be a good option. And that's why today we'll discuss the top 5 locations that you can choose from if you're coming here for fun, travel, to start a new career, maybe meet a girl and start a family, or a man if you're a woman, or to retire here in the long run. So let's get started with District 1. Of course, this is the most popular area, especially for backpackers. The reason why is because there's so many people here you can interact, meet with, go on a night out, have some drinks, but also there's a lot of shopping malls for those of you guys with abundance of money, extra wealth that you can spend on that Hermes bag or the Gucci, LV, everything is here. As well, if you look for cheap travels, there's a lot of historical sites like the cathedral, the post office, the war museum. There's a lot of things to see. This is also very convenient for you to go to other districts that you want to visit while you're here. Transportation is so cheap, just jump on a Grab or take a taxi like My Linh or Vina Sun. It'll bring you to another district like District 2 and 7, which we'll talk about later on. But this is like the hub, the downtown of Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City. It's the best place to be. In addition to that, there's also a lot of housing accommodations and hotels. So if you're looking for a very fancy, well-operated place, go for at least a 3 or 4-star hotels here. They'll be managed very well and the price is very cheap, under $100. Why I say cheap is because if you're going to other places like Canada, US, Australia, or even in Asia like Korea, Japan, Hong Kong, you spend much more than that per night. So Vietnam, you get the biggest bang for your buck. So if you're looking for a place that is, providing you with all the amenities, has breakfast, hotel staff, cleaning, concierge, then hotel is the way to go. If you guys are on a budget though, look for Airbnbs. Although you have to pay for a fee to book Airbnb because that's their service, even after that, it's still cheaper than hotels in general. That's what my finding is when I'm looking around at hundreds of hotels and hundreds of Airbnb and comparing them. The good thing about Airbnb rooms as well is you get personalized service. So it's not like a corporation or a company running it or hotel staff that don't care about the place. If you look for a good place, oftentimes an Airbnb is run by the host itself who care for the place, or it's their home. So they're very detailed with every little thing they put in the room. And when you talk to them, they also care more about your experience, obviously for the rating, but also they're proud of their home, they're proud of their city. So they're gonna give you recommendations of what to do. And if you need anything else, like cooking utensil or anything that's small, you can ask them and they'll provide it to you. For those of you guys who are on a budget, trying to travel as cheap as possible, well, District 1 also has the most hostels. Around Bui Vien Street is where all the party is, but also you find a lot of hostels for very cheap, under $10 per night, where you sleep in a little box and then you have a shared kitchen and washroom and maybe a common room where you can sit out and play cards and meet other people that live in the house. It's basically heaven for first-time travelers to Vietnam who don't have any friends here, and maybe you're solo traveling, so you're trying to meet other people from different countries, share experiences, and maybe go out together. Maybe even start a relationship. Who knows? A lot of people find their partners this way. So to recap, District 1 is amazing because it's the hub. It has cheap option, expensive luxury places to stay. When you walk outside, there's a lot of food, like restaurants as well as mom and pop shops, people selling on the streets. You can experience the culture of Vietnam because you see people hustle and bustle. Basically, people from all over Vietnam come here to start a career. So if you're living here, you get to see all of that. And if you're living here long term, it's also great as well because you get to meet a lot of international travelers and business people who come here for meetings and conventions and things like that. So basically this is a place that got everything going on. The only downside is that it's so busy that you can get suffocated sometimes. Overall, you will be trading off that peace and quiet for a lot of fun, convenience, and abundance of options. If you want to get away from all that noise and stuffiness, then District 2 is another great option. This is an upcoming area where there's a lot of expats already living, so the place is very safe and clean. There are also malls here if you want to go shopping, and a lot of high-end restaurants and cafes. So you'll be like living in Vietnam very cheap but in style, because District 2 is basically made for like rich people and expats. Back in the days when District 1 was so stuffy, has a lot of backpackers and a lot of business going on, a lot of rich people go to District 2 and they build villas and they live there in peace and quiet, away from all the poor people. But now you can go and penetrate that area because there are buildings and Airbnbs coming up there that you can rent. So there's a lot of good options for you guys if you want to live fancy in a nice, clean, quiet space. And also the air is going to be much more fresh because there's less cars and people moving about. There's also a lot of activities like salsa dancing if you want to go join a tennis or a sport club, or if you want to eat at like a Western restaurant, then District 2 has it all. District 2 is a fine balance for you guys who want a taste of Vietnam, but also a reminder of home because it has, that very Western style living. Even the condos there is built like for a Westerner. So this is, I think, one of the best areas to live in if you are a little bit older, or if you're an online internet entrepreneur, like a digital nomad. You want to find a peaceful place to work, and then you want to walk outside, have some fun, and enjoy Vietnam a little bit. If you want to go to District 1, you can jump on a cab and it'll be like a 20-minute ride to come here if there's no traffic. But you don't need to come to District 1 that often, especially if you're living in Vietnam for the long run. For those of you guys who are traveling, obviously it's probably not the best place. But if you're living here for over a month, then living in District 2 is, I think, a very good option. If you don't want to deal with the loud, over busy streets of Saigon District 1, and you don't want to be too far in District 2, then there's a fine balance, and that is Bentan. Specifically, we're talking about Vinh Hommes Central Park. This location here has one of the biggest, most beautiful park in all of Saigon, in my opinion. That is the Central Park. So the style of living here is also very Western. And beside it is the tallest building in all of Vietnam, which is Landmark 81. In this building, you have shoppings, living, as well as cafes and restaurants with a beautiful rooftop view that you can see the entire city. So I think there's a great balance if you guys don't want to be too close to all the noise and pollution in District 1, but you don't want to be too bored living in District 2 either, because sometimes at nighttime, it can be quite empty. There's not as much activities going on. So in Bentan, you can drive to both locations quite fast, roughly 10 to 15 minutes. You can reach one of those areas. So I think this is beautiful. Living in Vinh Hommes Central Park, I think, is amazing because in the morning you can go down and have a run around the park. It's very big, beautiful, a lot of tree, grass. You can take in the beautiful scenery of Vietnam and see the local Vietnamese people doing yoga and Tai Chi, things like that. Then you can go grab brunch or a coffee in Landmark 81. Then go back to your room, maybe do some work and have a swim in the condo pool. Then in the evening, if you want to meet up with some friends, grab a taxi or you drive a scooter, go to District 1. It's very quick. So I think Vinh Hommes Central Park is a great option in addition to Thao Dien if you want to live like a Westerner, having that very fancy lifestyle, but also being in Vietnam. However, one disadvantage about that area is that you're kind of secluded and you're trying to interact in that area only. And if you're walking around, there's not much else to do. Just outside of that, you have to take a taxi or drive a scooter like 10-15 minutes to find another area that's sprawling with a lot of activities. If you want to live in Bentan but don't want to be secluded and want to be more in tune with the locals, then live around Lê Văn Tám Park. This is where the Nhà thờ Tân Định, which is the pink church, and also the Tân Định market. If you live in this area, this is where all the locals are, so it's very convenient to grab food and go out to the park, have a run, work out at the machines that are at the park, and in the evening time, you can go into District 1 in about 5-10 minutes. Living right in the center of Bentan is very advantageous because there's a lot of stuff to do. There's so many locals there, so you're trying to eat local foods, then all you have to do is take a few minute walk and you'll find a lot of good, delicious places to go dine at. Also, it's very close to District 1, so if you're trying to go in, have some fun, meet friends, it's like a 5-10 minute ride away. So living near Living Tam is highly advantageous and is one of the best area, I think, to stay in District 1 without being right in the hub, where it's very expensive, loud, noisy, and the air is very polluted. The last area we'll talk about is District 7. So this is where all the Koreans live. So you find a lot of Korean restaurants. It's very similar, I think, to Tao Ding District 2, where it's more secluded, farther away from District 1. It has a lot of Western style living as well. So if you're trying to look for a place that's more comfortable and remind you a little bit of home, then District 7 is a good place. The vibe and the feel is very different from Bentan and District 1. So this is a good option. The only bad thing is you will be farther away from District 1. So you're trying to get into town, it's going to be like a 20-30 minute ride. And when you're trying to go home, it's very far. So District 7 is very good if you're trying to live a very peaceful life and be among the locals. There's a lot of park to work out at and a fancy mall there. And there's a little walkway around the lake where the scenery is just quite breathtaking. If you want to go to the Mekong Delta area, it's also very close by as well because you are closer to the south. However, if you're trying to have some fun, meet friends in District 1 or District 2, it's extremely far. So what do you guys think about the best areas to live in Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City? What do you think about my list? Drop down below what are your favorite places to stay when you come to Vietnam, or if you live in Vietnam already, which area are you living in and what do you like about it? What don't you like about it? But thank you so much for following the entire video. Click subscribe and we'll see you on the next video. Peace out.